The three non-negotiables would be TGIM, thank goodness it's Monday, and making sure that Mondays are truly the best day of the week. That we are excited to see kids when they return from the weekend. Making sure that, we are telling kids we love them, telling kids that our school is home, and we have songs about homes, we're singing chants, we're high-fiving, we have hand signals. But Mondays, there are pianos in the hallway, we have drum lines, we have dance parties, we bring in Bruno Mars cover band. We are turning up on Mondays. That's a non-negotiable. Teachers have to be in the hallways, hugging kids, high-fiving kids. We are all in on Monday.
All right, everybody, welcome to Hot Conversations with School Leaders, where we keep it honest, open, and transformative. I'm your host, Matthew Mason, a proud principal and lifelong practitioner, committed to helping school leaders like you build thriving schools without burning out. Each episode, we bring in bold voices, brilliant minds, and battle-tested leaders who are making real impact in their communities. And today's guest is the perfect example of all of that. I'm honored to welcome Ryan Stein, a powerhouse educator and nationally recognized innovator who's been inspiring students, teachers, and leaders for almost 2 decades. From earning the Rudolph and Esther Bunze Award for Teaching Excellence and Virginia Super Teacher Award, to being featured on The Rachel Way Show as one of the nation's top 5 educators, Ryan is a proven pioneer in student engagement, equity, innovation, and belonging. As a school leader, he's continued that excellence, receiving the Chris Corallo Distinguished Leadership Award, the Rudolph and Esther Bunze Leadership Award for Excellence, and being named Henrico PTA Principal of the Year. Under his leadership, the Greenwood Elementary Gators were recognized with the Virginia Board of Education Highest Achievement Award. But he's not just leading buildings. Ryan's out here shifting culture. He's the creator of History MVP, a dynamic teaching tool used in hundreds of schools, and has even dropped a full music album packed with social studies content. I didn't know this, but I have 2 daughters, and they used to listen to some music like a while back, and they were like, yeah, we have to listen to this music for Mr. Stein. Wasn't until I read your book and I was like, oh, shoot. That is who they've been talking about the whole time. So it's absolutely cool. I went jump back on it and listened to it. I was a social studies teacher as well. So really, really good stuff. Co-author, and I believe I'm saying this right, Jen Bordeaux. Jen Bordeaux, he's written a powerful book, Lifeline 65, How Small Connections and Big Enthusiasm Can Change Education. So today we're diving into what it really takes to lead with joy, build lasting connections, and create unforgettable, inclusive learning experiences for everyone in your building. So grab your notebook, your coffee, or just your curiosity, and let's get hot with Ryan Stein. Mr. Stein, welcome to the podcast.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. And, looking forward to, hopefully sharing a few, simple wins that can have some big impact with other building leaders.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Lucky to have you on here. So the first question I want to ask you, take us back to your why. Like, what pulled you into education and leadership?
Well, that one for me is pretty simple here. As a kid, absolutely loved school. I always share that I was that kid that was 45 minutes early at the bus stop, knocking on doors, getting all the kids in the neighborhood to the bus. I absolutely loved school. But things for me kind of took a shift and change when I was in 4th grade. Family was going through, a challenging divorce, and the teacher at the time didn't really notice this shift or change within me. A kid that was so happy all the time, doing well in school or doing well on assessments, all of a sudden became quiet, reserved, did not want kids and friends over my house. Nobody seemed to notice. Wasn't until the summer of 5th grade going in where I had a teacher that changed my life and wrote about him in my book, Mr. DeCrosta, where coming in to school, and it was a summer, kind of that open house time frame in New Jersey where you're coming in, get to meet your new teachers. And I'll never forget, walked into the class and, both parents kind of came into the classroom at the same time. And at that time, my parents might not have been getting along as well as they did, do today, but kind of an explosion was happening. And the teacher kind of came right over and said, son, I see you. And it formed this incredible relationship with me. Had lunch with me, invited me into school early on Mondays because he knew Sundays were a tough day for me from switching from one house to the next. But seeing how this man impacted my life in such a positive way, and had other educators, PE teachers and coaches that noticed that, you know relationships are the key and the foundation to success. So, I have to say thank you to all of the teachers and leaders that impacted my life and wanted me to become what they were for me.
So as a school leader, like why do you feel like well, something that you bring up in your book is just the power of enthusiasm. Why do you feel like that is so important? I thought I brought a lot of enthusiasm, and I'll be honest with you, as I read your book, not that I feel like your book is trying to tell somebody you're not bringing enthusiasm, but it was definitely a challenge for me to be like, hey, there's some other things that I can do to make sure that my students feel seen in the building. So like, why is enthusiasm so important to you as a leader?
Got to be enthusiastic, got to see kids, and not just the student kids but the big kids too, right, the teachers, and making sure that everyone feels like they're safe, they're valued, and that they belong within your school family. But no, I'm definitely a believer that enthusiasm drives everything, that your enthusiasm drives your climate and culture, that how you show up every single day matters. We all have different things going on in our lives outside of school, but the minute those feet hit the pavement, right outside the car door, we have to be superheroes for our kids and for our teachers. And finding whatever method it is for you to get that out of you and to bring that out is essential. And so for me, whether it's turning up the music and making sure you turn it down just a little bit as you're coming in on campus, or turning up music in the hallways as folks are coming into the building, but just making sure that as much time as we spend in our building, that it is a place that we want to be. You know, we I'm a firm believer as building leaders. Let's create either the school experience that we had or the school experience that we needed as kids. And so that definitely is a mission and a vision that drives that enthusiasm each and every day.
So you wrote the book Lifeline 65. And I admit when I first looked at it, I was like, what does Lifeline 65 mean? And pretty early in the book, you let us know what that means. It's a very powerful message. Can you explain that to individuals? Again, for everyone watching, it is a great book for you to read, to really encourage you and challenge you to do all that you can for students. Can you share a little bit about Lifeline 65?
So the number 65 has big significance, not just in my life, but in our climate and culture at Greenwood Elementary School, where I've been the proud collaborative principal for 10 years. And the number 65 is the total amount of hours our students are gone from Friday. They leave at 2:20. All the way till 7:20 on Monday morning. And our mission at our school is that every student sees, hears, and most importantly, feels that they are loved before the 66-hour hits. Um, I kind of shared a little bit about Mr. DeCrosta and how he knew Sundays were a tough day for me when I was a youngster. And he invited me an hour early into school, just to make sure that those 65 hours, that I was seen and loved and appreciated before that 66-hour hits. So that's something that we've started at our school, and we call it TGIM. We make Mondays the best day of the week. We say it on our announcements. We have murals about it all throughout the building. Our staff, everyone loves to wear jeans, right? So let's wear jeans on Mondays and throw a football jersey or a basketball or a soccer jersey this year that has the number 65 on it. That lets our kids know, our staff knows. We brand it throughout our whole building that this is something we believe to our core, that everybody needs to feel loved, valued, and appreciated before that 66-hour hits. Um, we don't do countdowns to summer. We don't do countdowns on winter break. Um, we We constantly are sharing personal stories about students and staff, about what those 65 hours might look like outside of school. We've had one of the most powerful implementations that we've had at Greenwood is starting faculty meetings with either student voice or parent voice. On an agenda, if you have a parent or a student opening, everybody shows up on time and
Mm,
everybody is fully present. And having community members voice share about those 65 hours or share how they know they belong at your school does nothing but just boost your why, boost your mission. So, whatever you need to talk about the rest of the faculty meeting, everybody's locked in
yeah.
because they heard it from somebody other than me tell the importance about it.
That's powerful. I've never heard of anyone doing that where they're bringing someone in to speak, but I can definitely see how that would be so powerful. You said something a little earlier of you don't do countdowns. Why not? Why don't you? I know I'm used to whether I was a student or whether I was a teacher or an administrator, like countdowns seem to be the thing when you get to that last month of school. It's actually right after spring break. It is almost like that's when you see it the most.
Yeah, I shared a story with our staff one of my first years as a building leader that I had a very close friend of mine when I was in high school. Had some difficulties at home and needed a place to live, so he moved in with my family and best friends. I mean, we did everything together. And as the summer was approaching, I noticed a massive shift and change in one of my best friends because he would have to go back to Atlantic City and be away from kind of our family, which kind of became his safe place. Our conversations got shorter, tempers were a little bit hotter, and so as a student, as a child, I was able to feel how the summer was going to be very different for this young man. And so our relationship kind of shifted and changed. I saw his relationship at school and with his teachers. So I saw it firsthand. I see it all the time with our students at Greenwood, which is why during winter break, I try to run some type of summer camp for our students or a winter camp or a winter clinic. I was a varsity basketball coach and always tried to do clinics during breaks for different populations of students and kids, and because they need us. So want to make sure that we are never telling kids and parents that we are excited for your kids to be away. We've done this thing where it's called the perception test, where I'll read a post online that might say, I can't wait for spring break to come. Need a break from students, and so this I'll break up the staff and say, all right, you're a parent group, you're a central office group, you're a building leader. What is the perception from this tweet that you are internalizing? And so we've had some great conversations about that right up front. So everybody knows we don't do countdowns because I don't want one child, one parent to think that we don't want to be with you
Yeah.
because school is home and it needs to be somewhere where, we love to be.
You already touched on one strategy, but what are some strategies that you and your staff have come up with to make sure that students, two things, three things actually, that students feel appreciated, wanted, loved in the building, that families know that you care about them as well and them being involved, and also that gets staff like really involved in the mission that you all have of making sure that students know that they are valued.
Well, I think it starts very simple. It can start from telling them, and whether that's in person and being authentic about it, telling them through, writings and being consistent with your messaging, whether it's, emails, social media posts, what you're posting on your website. All of those little things matter. Success is doing a lot of little things right. And then you have a big overall success. But I think telling them and really meaning it, definitely being, present, being visible, being fully engaged, asking questions, making sure that you are, taking your notes, so that way you can follow up with your staff, follow up with your students or a parent that might have some things going on, but making sure that you are being a great listener and responding as necessary. I think for us it is really valuing every single minute that we have with kids. One of our big philosophies that we have at our school is called Win the Morning.
Gotcha.
We have just hundreds of people each year that come and see this philosophy that has changed our climate and culture. It has enhanced our overall sense of belonging. But, you know, when I say value every single minute, one of the things that I noticed year one as a building leader was, all right, kids were coming through our door from 7:20. The late bell is, 7:40. Um, and instruction didn't really start till 8 o'clock. That's 40 minutes
Yeah.
of valuable time where let's reimagine what this could look like. And what can we do with those 40 minutes to enhance our climate and culture, not just for students, but for staff? What can we do with those 40 minutes to possibly help retain staff and offer opportunities for staff to showcase some of their gifts and talents? I'm a firm believer that it is our jobs as building leaders to help kids find their gifts and talents, enhance it, and then most importantly, showcase it. And that might be through a lot of different ways to showcase your gift and talent, whether it's academics, through competitions or award ceremonies, whether it's sports and having sports teams, whether it's, a performance type team, a step team, a dance team. But it's definitely our job to help every single kid believe in themselves and most importantly, showcase that belief, showcase that confidence in front of everybody. So I think those are little things that have definitely helped.
So you talk about win the morning and you talk about that energy to have students come in and see that energy. How do you prepare yourself every morning? Because again, hot conversation. There are definitely days I walk in and I feel like I've got it, right? There are other days I walk into the building and it is I still go in, I work as hard as I can, but that energy that I had this other day just isn't there. So how do you prepare yourself every day to bring that energy for your staff and your students?
So the win the morning philosophy, I think, is also really personal for me. And it helps me with exactly what you're asking here. When we as building leaders can bring our personal passions into our professional passions, you got some magic happening. So for me, really, really looking at how do I want to start my day, and really get excited about the day. Win the morning, there's five components to it. One of the five components is morning clubs and offering extracurricular opportunities. And so for me, I love sports. So, I'm a big coach, outside of school. And so how can I, and implement my love for coaching at 7:20 in the mornings? We have a soccer team, we have a basketball team, we have a flag football team. So, why not start my day on a Monday morning coaching 100 kids, having a great time and becoming a mentor to a lot of those kids. I love the drums. So let's have a drum line. So I lead the drum line on a Tuesday. You know, I'm on the dance team. I'm not the best dancer, not even close, but we have a dance coach that makes me feel like I can dance. And so,
Yeah.
being able to start the day at 7:20, knowing that, I'm dancing with 100 other kids is a fantastic way for me to start my morning, or a step team on a Thursday. I mean, we have different things that go on each 7 weeks, then it kind of rotates. But for me, and being able to know from 7:20 to 7:45, I'm going to be involved in a club. That's one component to our win the morning. The second big component is our morning announcements at 7:45. And there's all different ways that we are branding our messaging through morning announcements. Morning announcements can be very, very powerful. And not just for the kids, but for your staff, for them to hear your messaging, to hear how much you love kids, love what you do, being able to give staff authentic shout outs and host a morning session on the morning announcements called Cribs, and having teachers showcase their classroom, but really putting passion and purpose behind your morning announcements and not just talking about the weather. We don't do that. Don't talk about recess. We don't do that. Our messaging and our branding is essential to our morning announcements. But the other big component, the third one that I'm gonna throw at you is our morning meetings.
Right.
And every non-homeroom person needs to be in a morning meeting, and we kind of create this schedule. And so, at 7:45, I'm in a classroom, I'm watching morning announcements, and then, I'm hopping right into a morning meeting, whether I'm leading it or participating in it. By the time 8 o'clock hits, I'm like wired up because I was able to, lead the drum line. I was able to hear some powerful messaging, not just from admin, but from students and teachers on our morning announcements. I was able to lead a morning meeting. So I still feel like I'm connected to a classroom and a classroom family. And so then 8 o'clock hits, and now you're in classrooms already and you don't get pulled out. So I think that really helps me find my energy in the morning, knowing that I'm needed and I'm wanted, and I feel like I belong within classroom families and classroom clubs. Because as a building leader, sometimes, the horror story was you'll feel isolated. You'll feel
Mm,
like you're on your own.
yes.
But if you shape your schedule, by really implementing yourself into the reasons why you got into education, then you could be cooking and you could be having fun. And that helps with the whole burnout. If you're able to schedule your day, create a schedule that is around your personal passions, then you're cooking.
So again, hot conversation. So what do you say to the individual who says, I've already got a ton of things that I'm trying to do just to get this building running and going each and every day? I'm telling you, as I listen to you, I see the value in that. Like when you can put these things and when you just not even when can you, when you just decide that this is how you're going to start your day off working with students, working with staff, I feel like it makes all the difference in the world. But what do you say to the individual who says, man, I'm already running on E trying to put out all the fires that go on as a school administrator? How do you encourage them to look at your win the morning and be like, hey, this is an opportunity for you to not burn out?
And I get that question a lot, right? You get the question a lot, our school can't look like this. Our school can't
Mm,
sound like this. And, I definitely always push back and say, kind of, why not? And, whether if it's, one of the big things that I always get is, well, funding, we don't have funding to have all of these different types of clubs that you have. Well, before we had, 15 clubs offered in a day, maybe there's only one or two, and guess what? They were clubs that didn't offer, any type of money or funding that wasn't needed. We were able to get some buckets donated. So don't let funding, be your barrier. A lot of times I hear I don't have the staff that wants to lead some of these activities or some of these clubs. Don't let that be a barrier. Maybe it's just 1 or 2 days, and maybe it's just you as a building leader putting yourself out there with a small group, a dance group, or maybe it's something with art if you love art. And then, most importantly, showcasing that, whether it's at an award ceremony or a pep rally or a PTA event. And then, guess what? It will multiply when staff sees you putting yourself out there. If you feel like you got a lot on your shoulders, whether it's with staffing or student behavior, which might be increasing or whatever it might be, those things are always going to be there. Um,
yeah.
and I feel as education, it's not getting easier.
Yeah.
It's definitely not getting easier at all. And so that's why I feel that it is more important now than ever to make sure as building leaders, you develop a schedule, kind of guide your daily actions, whether it's with kids, whether it's with teachers, and supporting yourself with a team of people that get it. My advice to that question, I think, if you're feeling burnout, is making sure that you are hiring right,
Hmm.
because we know in education, it is impossible to almost get somebody out of your building. And
Yeah.
so making sure that your interview process is robust enough to get the right person. I think that's been one of our biggest keys for us being able to do all of these projects, events, extracurriculars, is we got the right people on the bus. And I
Gotcha.
think our interview process is very, very unique. It's very difficult. It's almost a 2-hour interview, but there's activities, there's pre-work, there's post-work. They're meeting with students. Our interview questions are not necessarily, how do you teach reading or how do you teach math? A lot of them are activities about, their personality. We're having them come in and tell us inspirational stories, bringing in props, dressing up.
Wow.
It's all about getting the right people on the bus, and I think if you do some of those things, you definitely can help with that empowerment of other people within your building to kind of help you with those daily tasks.
Gotcha. So, what keeps you grounded and joyful outside of school? So, you got all that you're doing in there, but you're also a husband, you're also a father. Like, what keeps you going once you leave the school building?
Definitely knowing the why behind what it is that we do. I think it's essential for us to brand that why. As building leaders, if your one takeaway is this, put your why all throughout your building. And by that, I mean, if you come into our hallways, you'll see a ton of pictures of kids and being purposeful of what type of pictures you're putting around your building. Because we all take pictures all the time. But if you have different pictures that have a personal story or an emotional story behind that, a success story about a student from Section 8 housing, but now is giving, speeches in middle school and high school because you help them find their confidence, that there needs to be a picture about that somewhere on your wall, and it needs to be big. I think having photos, having we have school songs that I write every single year where there's lyrics kind of posted all throughout the buildings. But make if you're asking how to stay grounded, how to stay motivated, brand your hallways, brand your classrooms, brand your cafeteria with all of those success stories. So when you're walking around, you're feeling like you are validated for the time, effort, and energy that you are pouring in to your kids at the school, because this job is hard. It takes away from our lives outside of the school building. So, you know, I think making sure that your hallways, show your hard work and show those personal stories. That's a big win.
What do you do outside of school to keep your energy, let me put it this way. What do you do outside of school for yourself to keep that energy going and also make sure you have more than enough energy for your family?
Yeah, that's probably an area that I have to do better in. We professional passion is probably also my personal passion. Those two worlds collide very often. Yesterday, actually, we just released our master calendar of events, and there's definitely Saturday events, there's evening events, but there are events that I really love doing. My daughter loves theater. And so, you know, to answer your question here, well, I'm gonna write a school play and she'll have to try out for a part. But if that's her love, that's her passion. Well, if I can be the play director, write a play and create the songs and everything, then guess what? Now my professional passion collides with my personal passion, and I can, now the two worlds collide, and so I still can be dad, but at the same time, do something awesome for a ton of kids. I think, there's definitely some growth in this area for me, being able to find more time for myself. The time that I do have, I absolutely love coaching. Man, I love it to the core of who I am. And, I was a varsity basketball coach for 12 years. I was at Benedictine High School as a coach. We won 3 state titles, and then Glen Allen High School opened up, and I was the first coach there, on the varsity coach there. And that first year was a struggle as we didn't have seniors in the school. You go from winning, 3 state titles to not even having seniors in your school, and you're getting absolutely crushed. But within 3 years, we're winning, our conference. We're in a regional final at Norcom, and then we're in the state final four. So we got things moving quickly. So, but then I became a principal and had to give up coaching. So now coaching at the youth level and coaching basketball, coaching futsal, those have definitely been kind of my personal passions. So, for if you're looking for some awesome sports kids and sports stories, our team's called Riptide. Definitely our phrase is create waves, making sure that, we're kind of disrupting the norm and, doing some extraordinary things. And last year, our futsal team was national champions. And, this year, our basketball team is in the national, tournament coming up here in a few weeks. But continuing to find time to do things where I can coach, but also my kids are on those teams, so you get that dad time as well.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So we're going to jump into like 3 different sections. Each section has like a question to go along with it. But it gives you a chance to reflect on some things and they help our viewers and our listeners out. So this first section is called Leaders in the Mirror. So it's time for you to kind of reflect on your leadership. So reflect on your leadership journey. How have you developed over the last 10 years? So looking at yourself then and now, what are areas you feel like, man, this is where I was at the beginning, and I've definitely improved in these areas here, or these are things that I reflect on that I like. These are things that have helped me become a better leader.
I definitely feel I have become more patient. I feel as building leaders, patience is key. As a brand new leader, man, I was let's go. And I still feel like I'm like that a lot. But I feel that I have definitely become, definitely better at listening and being more collaborative, being more open, where maybe, year one, year two, or year three, might have been a little bit more of, I have this vision, have this mission, this is where we want to go. But now I feel that I definitely have, that is definitely something I think looks very different from year one to year 10 is just, being patient, being more open, being more reflective, and being a better listener. I think, one of the things, maybe a shift in a big change from year one to year 10 was, as a first year leader, I always kind of had the phrase, put students first. And, everything we're doing is, we're doing it for kids. I want to put this event, this program for this kid. And I feel that in the past 10 years, that has maybe shifted and changed just a little bit as a building leader, where I have definitely shifted to putting teachers first and putting
Mm,
staff first. I say it every day on the announcements, students, I love you, but teachers, good golly, I love you even more. And, because
I love it.
if I can retain teachers, if I can get the best staff in my building, then I know deep down, I'm putting kids first because I'm getting the best people to lead in their classrooms. The teachers, they better be putting the kids first. But I feel that it is my job. Let me put my staff first. Let me take care of them. Let me find out what their love language is. For some people, it might be food. For some people, it might be posting their classroom on social media. For some people, they don't want anything. Even if you say, hey, I'm going to give you,
Yeah.
a brand new, high quality stapler. They're like, no, I don't want anything. I want nothing.
Right.
Um, but, I think it's, I think that from year one to year 10, that has been one of my big shifts and changes. You know, I'm not a classroom teacher anymore. You know, I'm not going to put, necessarily my students first. I'm going to put my staff first. In by doing that, I'm really taking care of the kids.
I love it. I love it. This next section is called Three to Thrive. So the letter three, or the number three, not the letter three, three to thrive. And so this one is, what are the three non-negotiables in your leadership practice?
All right. So the three non-negotiables would be TGIM. Thank goodness it's Monday, and making sure that Mondays are truly the best day of the week. That we are excited to see kids when they return from the weekend. Making sure that we are telling kids we love them, telling kids that our school is home, and we have songs about homes. We're singing chants. We're high fiving. We have hand signals. But Mondays there are pianos in the hallway. We have drum lines. We have dance parties. We bring in Bruno Mars cover band. We are turning up on Mondays. That's a non-negotiable. Teachers have to be in the hallways, hugging kids, high-fiving kids. We are all in on Monday. Second one is definitely win the morning, that we are valuing every single minute from 7:20 to 8 o'clock to create this incredible experience to start the day. If kids get excited and are running through your door on time, running through your door excited and wanting to be at school, you got it. And then I think my third one, for me, fish don't jump in the boat,
Hmm. Okay.
meaning we got to go get them. The,
I
we
like it.
we have to have the mindset that we are putting courage and grit behind our action
Hmm.
implementations, to create our dreams. Everyone's got dreams and everyone's got goals, but do you have the courage and grit to put action behind those to make things happen? Because the fish don't jump in the boat. You got to go get it. Our big dream, our mission is to become, one of the most diverse blue ribbon schools of academic excellence. We can't just do that, by being average. We're not here to be average.
Yeah.
We're here to be exceptional. I don't want, anybody saying that a school that has 65% free and reduced lunch can't be an academic blue ribbon school. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to make that happen. And that's our theme this year is one team, one dream. That's the
Mm.
dream. Because once we hit that this year, we'll be able to say that all of these other implementations, all these other philosophies, putting teachers first, winning the morning, TGIM, that it worked. And we were able to do something extraordinary. So those be
I
my
love it.
three.
I love it. I love that energy too. And I love your language to it. It's not, we're going to try to. It's not, we're hoping to. It's like, we're going to do it. Right. And I've noticed when I use that language with myself, I tend to accomplish more things when I just say we're going to do it versus I'm going to try. I'm not leaving myself to out. We're just going to do it. So I love that. So now we'll put you on the hot seat. Some quick fire questions. Each one of these, just want to see what your answer will be. So the first one, favorite book that helped you, inspired you as a leader.
Lifeline 65. It's
Yeah,
gotta be the
yeah,
one
yeah.
I wrote.
Yes, I love it. All right, mentor, somebody who for you is like, man, this person has really helped me.
Yeah, I would say John Marshall. He's the
Okay,
principal at Freeman High School. I'd
yeah,
have to throw Herb Monroe in there, James
yeah.
Gordon. Those are definitely, probably, three big hitters right there.
Okay, your mantra. What's your favorite mantra?
Not here to be average. That's
Mm,
definitely one of them. Courage and grit to put action behind our ideas. I think those are big ones. For our school, I think it would be, be here, be you, belong,
ooh,
making sure that, everyone within our school family knows they belong.
love it. One mistake that you've learned from as a leader.
Don't write an email in all caps. No, that
Agreed.
might be one. Making sure that data speaks.
Mm,
Numbers don't lie. Um, one of the things that have been said about me or even our school is that we are a school of stories. We have so many wonderful stories about our students, our staff, but we got to make sure that these stories have the evidence and the artifacts backed by data that
mm,
prove they work. So, that would be, one thing that I wish I would have done earlier was not just tell these stories, off of emotion, but telling stories that are backed by data and saying them, man, our attendance has gone up, our discipline has gone down by these exact numbers. But yeah,
and the last one is, what's one leadership moment that changed your approach forever?
we we take teacher work week, the very first day everybody gets back to our school, very seriously. And it is, your first time, you're getting your whole family back together. And I think the messaging, the vision, the activities are so essential within that very first hour. What you do with your staff to set the direction for the entire year. So I think to answer that question, it would really be, what do I do with that first hour that I get with our staff? And how can I tap in to the why, the purpose of every single person in that building? And we've done some extraordinary things. That first hour of teacher work week. And if there's a building admin that's looking for an idea, can I throw maybe one or two ideas out
Yeah,
there
go
for
for
you?
it. Yes, sir.
So one of the most powerful things that we did, we split our staff up into, five different teams when they first came in for that first meeting, and we had a big envelope on their tables, and we put this, we created this really cool Amazing Race video, and we told the staff we're going to do an amazing race, and they opened up the envelope, and there were six letters. It spelled out the word belong, and on the back of each letter was an address. They had 1 hour
Woo.
to go to each address and ask that family, which we contacted ahead of time. The families knew we were coming,
Yeah.
how they knew their kid belonged. So
Mhm.
they went at that person's house, asked that kid, asked the family. They took pictures, they recorded some of their responses. What a powerful way to start the year.
Yeah.
And set the mission, set the vision. But that was one year. Another year we had, our theme was kind of like breaking barriers and, making sure that we weren't letting any barriers get in the way of our kids' success. And so, we gave construction hats, we had hammers, we had goggles, and all the, teachers and staff members wrote all the different barriers on tile. And then we just shattered them, and we broke them, and we gave everybody little pieces of all the different barriers that we broke. And we constantly brought that to every faculty meeting. We brought our hats to every faculty meeting. We
Yeah.
brought our hammers. Like, we were on a mission to make sure that we weren't using any excuses or any barriers. So that was definitely one of my favorites. But I feel that my all-time favorite is definitely coming out of COVID. Kind of the first time you're kind of all back together with your team and your staff. And I think it was because of, we were also away from each other for a long time. But I told this story called, Find Your Pony. And it was about the story of a family that had two kids. And one kid was so positive, one kid was so negative all the time. And for the holidays, this family wanted to get the kid that was negative all the time a brand new bike. Brand new, it was gonna be this real expensive bike. And for this other kid that was positive all the time, this family was going to get them a big box of poop. And so I'm telling
Mm.
this story to the staff, and they're like, what is he talking about? We just got back from summer break, he's talking about poop. And I said, listen, y'all. So then Christmas morning comes, and both kids come running down the stairs. And, one kid sees this big, present wrapped up, rips it up. It's the negative kid. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's the wrong color. There's too many gears. Someone's going to steal it. Where am I going to lock it up? And it's like negative,
Mm.
negative, negative. And the kid that's positive all the time goes over, sees this box. It's not even wrapped. He just opens it up, smells it. Oh, it's terrible, and takes off running. And he's running in the backyard, screaming and yelling. And the families are looking at each other like, what's this kid doing? And runs out to the outside and is like, son, what's going on? And he's like, that's the biggest box of poop. There's got to be a pony. And so, our message that year to the staff was, man, sometimes in life, you get that box of poop, right? In education, coming out of COVID, we had our poop. It's stunk, but what we're going to do is we're going to find our pony. And
Yeah.
so I took every staff member outside. I had a big pony out there. Everyone had to take a picture with the pony. And so throughout the year, if anyone came in and tried to start talking negative, or I can't do this, my kid can't do this, they didn't log on to any meetings last year, they're already five, 3 grade levels below. It's like,
Yeah.
listen, here's your picture. We're finding the pony. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And, I talked about it earlier, branding it, right? Making sure that I got pictures of our staff with ponies all throughout the
Mm.
building, so that
Yeah.
way there's that story, there's that branding. But, I think for how you open up that first meeting, it's got to be purposeful. It's got to be passionate, and set the mission and direction for the year.
I love it. All right. So before we go, what's one piece of advice you'd leave for every leader listening who's trying to lead well without burning out?
Recap your success, and how you do that. How you do that is totally up to you. But, for me, I think one of the things that has been a great validation, because sometimes you get on that hamster wheel and you just keep running and running and running, and then and you just keep running, and then it's your winter break, then it's spring break, then it's like, oh my gosh, it's summer, and now it's like, oh my, summer's almost over. So recap your success. So for us, we have something called the Gator Bits. Send it out once a month, and I send it out to everyone in central office. I send it out to our school board. I send it to our community partners. But what I do is I put in pictures of all the different events, all the different programs. I put in data points, and whether they read it or not,
Right.
it's a great way for me, for our admin team, to take a deep breath when it goes out and says, hey, look what we did this month.
Yeah.
We were on fire, and let's celebrate it. And, so I think recapping it through images, recapping it through our little Gator Bits has definitely been a great way to not burn out, but to feel like you are doing something successful. I definitely feel that folks burn out when they feel that they aren't making an impact.
Mm.
And we are making impact as building leaders each and every single day. But sometimes we just move on to the next thing, and we don't recognize those things. So find a way to brand it on your walls. Find a way to surround yourself with the right people that will celebrate those wins with you. Find a way to, get your messaging out, whether it's through social media, whether it's your, Sunday message, but most importantly, at the end of the month, have a way to recap all the things that you've done. Because once you look at those pictures, look at that little messaging, you'll realize that what you're doing is changing the lives of not just the students, but probably more importantly, the staff in your building or the parents that are coming into your building or your community partners and being able to pull them into what education can and what education should be.
Love it. So, Mr. Stein, look, I appreciate you being here and doing this interview. I heard a lot of great things before. I interviewed, shoot, Dr. Monroe, and I was like, man, who would be a great person to interview? He brought your name up. I interviewed Mr. Gordon. He said the same thing. So I was honestly a little nervous interviewing because I was like, man, I am about to interview somebody who a lot of people look at who's doing great things. And you definitely did not disappoint. Where can our listeners find you or follow your work?
Yep, Greenwood Elementary School. We have our social media platforms. Ryan T. Stein. We have our social media platforms. But the one thing that we definitely would encourage anybody and everybody that's listening to this is give us a call at the school and
Mm,
set up a time to come visit. We definitely open up our doors a few different times throughout the year for people to come see, hear, and feel the excitement and take some simple wins that we are doing. Take pictures of our hall or whatever it might be. Because I've always said that the greatest teachers are the greatest thieves. I
yeah.
feel the same way as building leaders. I'm constantly stealing and learning and growing from other amazing leaders. And so would love, our listeners here to, come visit Greenwood and spend a day with us. Would definitely love it.
Awesome. Well, look, everybody, again, this is Hot Conversations with School Leaders. We had the awesome Ryan Stein with us today. Remember, HOT stands for honest, open, and transformative. I hope this is something that has influenced you. If you get an opportunity, please subscribe, please follow, and then share with others because we want to make sure that all of those individuals who are skilled school leaders have the different tools that they need to be successful without burning out. Stay hot and keep leading.